terrifying time.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our brand new channel, Terrifying Time. I'm Mike.
And I'm Em.
And together, we will be discussing a variety of cases. In today's episode, we will be covering the tragic case of Junko Furuta. If you enjoy this kind of content, please leave a like, subscribe, and turn on your notification bells to receive updates on all our new videos. Thank you.
Junko Furuta was a beautiful 17-year-old girl who was born in Saitama Prefecture in Misato, Japan on January 18, 1971. She was a very bright and popular student that was well liked and received high grades. She also had a part-time job after school working at a plastic molding factory. Junko did not do drugs, smoke, or drink alcohol, and it is because of this that she received the reputation in school of the good girl.
The criminal in this case was Hiroshi Miyano, who just so happened to be a classmate of Junko's. Hiroshi was an 18-year-old man who had a reputation for being a school bully. Not only was Hiroshi a school bully, he was also a low-ranked member of the Yakuza, which is a Japanese criminal organization. Hiroshi displayed signs of psychotic behavior from an early age when he would damage property, disrespect his teachers, steal from shops, and take part in numerous other displays of misbehavior.
So, if they were complete opposites, how exactly did Junko Furuta cross paths with Hiroshi Miyano? It was rumored by many that Miyano attended the same school as Junko, and while there, he fell deeply in love with her. He made Junko aware of his feelings and even asked Junko to be his girlfriend, but she rejected his advances, which angered Miyano, who seldom went through rejection. However, this is a false narrative, for Junko never met her murderers prior to the crimes.
On the night of November 25th, 1988, Hiroshi, alongside Nobuharu Minato, another Yakuza low-ranked member, wandered around Misato, Japan, looking for the next victim. Unfortunately, Junko just so happened to be riding her bike home from work when she was spotted by Hiroshi and Nobuharu. Hiroshi would then quickly come up with a plan to kidnap Junko. He ordered Nobuharu to kick Junko off her bike and to run away. Hiroshi would then appear seemingly out of nowhere, pretending he witnessed the kicking incident by coincidence, and would offer to walk Junko home. Unaware of Hiroshi's true intentions, Junko would accept his offer.
Once Miyano gained Junko's trust, he led her to a secluded warehouse where he raped her. After this incident, he would take her to a nearby hotel where he would rape her again and threaten her life. As this malicious act was not enough for Miyano, he called his friends, Joe Ogura and Yasushi Watanabe, in order to brag about what he did. His friends convinced him to hold her in captivity so that they could allow multiple people to rape and sexually assault her as well. The boys then decided to meet up at a park to talk about what they should do to Junko. So at 3 a.m., Miyano led a helpless Junko to where Ogura, Watanabe, and Minato were located. While there, the friends told Junko that they knew where she lived, for they had learned her address from her notebook. They also told her that they would kill off her entire family if she tried escaping, as they were members of the Yakuza gang. Junko was overpowered by the four friends and was taken to Nobuharu Minato's parents' home, which was located in the Ayase neighborhood of Adachi, Tokyo. While there, they would establish the house as their official hangout spot.
Once in the house, the kidnappers would proceed to gang rape Junko Furuta. 2 days later, Junko's parents would contact the police about their daughter's disappearance. The kidnappers, fearing further investigation from the police, forced Junko to lie and contact her mother several times to convince her she had ran away and was safely staying with her friends. Unfortunately, this would lead to the police investigation being closed. Anytime Minato's parents were present in the house, Junko would be forced to act as Minato's girlfriend, so as to not raise any suspicion.
During the 44 days that Junko was kidnapped, she suffered indescribable amounts of physical pain and mental abuse. Before she was murdered, she was beat, gang raped by the four gangsters, and tortured. Her suffering began with her being forced to be naked most of the time, which eventually led to the group forcing her to dance naked in front of them and other men as well. This was done so that she could constantly feel humiliated in front of her abusers. She was raped every day by other Yakuza members connected with the four gangsters, and it is even believed that she was raped by more than 100 men. Junko endured 500 rapes while kidnapped, and at one point, she was raped by 12 men in one day. The men that raped Junko reported to enjoy urinating on her before and after raping her. To turn the men on, she was forced to masturbate in front of them. Not only was Junko raped repeatedly, she underwent horrific physical beatings. During the winter months that she was held captive, the group of four left her out on the cold balcony with little clothing. She was often hit with golf clubs, had her face bashed onto the cement floor, and she had several objects inserted into her body through her vagina and anus. Some of those objects included a bottle, an iron bar, scissors, roasting needles, and grilled chicken skewers. In one incident, Miyano repeatedly burned Junko's arms and legs with lighter fluid. Junko was left extremely malnourished because she was only provided limited amounts of food and water. Instead of being provided adequate food, she was forced to eat live cockroaches, inhale paint thinner, smoke cigarettes, and drink her own urine. To make matters worse, she had fireworks inserted into her anus that would set off, causing severe internal burns. She had her left nipple ripped off completely with pliers, and she had heavy dumbbells dropped on her stomach while she was lying down with her hands and feet tied up, which resulted in loss of bowel control.
Moreover, we understand that these details are very difficult to hear due to their gruesome nature. However, we believe we must properly inform our audience of what was done to this innocent girl in order to bring light to this case. I will now proceed to describe the numerous other crimes committed against Junko by the group. Junko was kept in a refrigerator for several hours at a time, had her breasts pierced with sewing needles, was hung up from the ceiling by the group of criminals and used as a punching bag, had her intimates burned with cigarettes and lighters, had a light bulb inserted into her vagina, and had her eyelids burned with lighters and hot wax. As a result of enduring all this torture, Junko's body would soon begin to fail. Her internal organs were so severely damaged, they refused to accept food and drinks, causing her to throw up anytime she would consume them. This would anger the group and they would punish her with beatings. One afternoon after the group was resting after a drinking session, Junko saw this as an opportunity to contact the police. She made her way to the phone in the house, but before the call could go through, a member of the group spotted her. As a result, the group would punish her by burning her legs. This punishment would lead to Junko being unable to walk. After this, it would take her more than an hour to crawl downstairs and use the bathroom, as her hands were also burned. Eventually, she could no longer go downstairs due to her injuries or urinate properly, which caused her to remain confined to the room she was tortured in. Soon after, her body would begin to radiate a rotten smell, causing the group to lose sexual interest in her. All of this torture resulted in Junko's brain size being severely reduced, having her eardrums damaged, and her face swollen beyond recognition.
On her final day of life, Junko Furuta was challenged to a game of Mahjong Diamond by the four gangsters. She won the game, but at a cost, because soon after, the friends beat her with iron barbells and they burned her body parts. Junko tried to put out the fire, but she soon became unresponsive. After they burned her, they placed candles on her eyelids and dripped hot candle wax on her face while they continued to punch her repeatedly. Ultimately, one of the four murderers kicked her in her stomach with such force that she fell into a stereo unit, which caused her to collapse into a fit of convulsions. The boys then continued their vicious attack on Junko and put plastic bags on their hands to prevent the blood and pus coming out of her injuries from getting on them. The gruesome attack lasted a total of 2 hours, and as a result of her infected and bleeding injuries, Junko Furuta passed away. When the realization that Junko was dead struck Minato's brother, he called him to inform him. In an attempt to hide the body of Junko, the murderers wrapped her body in blankets and forced it into a duffel bag. They then put her deceased body in a metal cauldron, which they filled with wet concrete. To dispose of her body, they threw the concrete-filled drum into a cement truck in Koto, Tokyo.
On January 23, 1989, weeks after Junko's death, two of the boys in the group, Miyano and Ogura, were arrested for kidnapping and raping a 19-year-old woman. in a separate incident. This was made possible after the woman had reported the boys to the police. During the boys' interrogation by two police officers, after already being found guilty for the kidnap and rape of the 19-year-old woman who had reported them, a murder of another woman was brought up as a topic of discussion by the officers. This murder was unrelated to that of Junko's, but Hiroshi, suspecting the officer was referring to Junko's death, would confess the exact location of Junko's dead body. This will leave the officers confused, as they were not referring to Junko, but this would only serve as one more reason to have them arrested. The police would then make their way to the location of Junko's body the boys had specified. Once there, they would find Junko's body encased in a concrete drum. She was carefully extracted from the concrete drum and could only be identified through her fingerprints. DNA evidence found on and in Junko's body would indicate that the group of four were responsible for her kidnapping, rape, and death. All four members of the group involved in Junko's demise were arrested along with multiple other perpetrators whose DNA was found on or in Junko's body as well.
Junko's body was buried by her family, and her high school class put her diploma with Junko in the grave. Some of her friends even gave memorials, wishing her peace in the afterlife. Her future employer also presented her parents with the uniform Junko would have worn. One of the murderer's mother, Minato's mother, desecrated and vandalized Junko's grave, for she believed that Junko had ruined the life of her son. What is most tragic about this case is that the police could have prevented her murder twice. The first time was when a boy that visited the Minato household and participated in the raping let his family know what had happened. The boy's parents contacted the police, which prompted an investigation. The police arrived at the house, but they were reassured by the Minato family that there wasn't a girl in the house. The police were even invited into the home by the Minatos, but they believed the family and dismissed the case. The other instance was when Junko called the police but was caught by her murderers. The police called back, but Miyano assured them that it was a mistake. So as a result of this, they never showed up to the house again.
After the case, many new rumors would begin to surface. One of them being that Junko had a 23-year-old boyfriend who worked construction named Kawamura at the time of her murder. Another one being that she became pregnant while kidnapped, but when the murderers found out, they drilled into her uterus with an electric drill. And finally, one rumor states that because Miyano did not want to be haunted in the afterlife, he found a videotape of the finale episode of Tombo, Junko's favorite show, and placed it with her deceased body in the duffel bag.
In the end, it is important to note that Junko should not be remembered as a victim, but as a young girl that had her entire life ahead of her. She was unfortunately deprived of living, but her memory lives on. Rest easy, Junko. You are missed by many.